Hello and welcome. My name is Abhilash. I've got Rakshit with me, and today we present to you yet another edition of Bamboo Shoots. Say hi, Rakshit.
Hey, hello everyone. I feel like we need some sort of entry music at this point, something like dun, 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 dun. That's not bamboo music, but maybe with like bamboo sticks or something. I don't know.
Yeah. No, we'll get
We
it.
should consider.
The
Yeah.
next episode that we do will probably get one music done as
Okay.
well. So yeah, Bamboo Shoots, like you can imagine already, are free-form conversations about ideas that Rakshit and I talk about. Any case, this is our uh, walk in the park kind of discussion. We talk when either of us or both of us are walking, and these are ideas that we kind of use in our own business, and I think they're going to be helpful for you as well. So let's see how this one goes. Today
Yes.
we are talking about one of my favorite authors, my favorite poem, and it is called "ये खेल क्या है" by Javed Akhtar. This is Urdu. So once I read this out for you, I'm also trying to translate this on the go, and I hope I get the essence of it out for you as well.
Will you be reading it out first, fully Abhilash, and then translating it, or do you intend to
Yes,
read and
yes.
translate? Okay.
No,
Okay.
I'm going to finish reading for people who do understand Urdu to get the, poem. And
Okay.
for those who don't or need a little bit of help figuring out some words, I will translate it after.
Perfect. Makes sense.
Okay?
Yes.
All right, here we go. जावेद अख्तर की आवाज में ये खेल क्या है? मेरे मुखालिफ ने चाल चल दी है और अब मेरे चाल के इंतजार में है। मगर मैं कब से सफेद खानों सिया खानों में रखे काले सफेद मोहरों को देखता हूं। मैं सोचता हूं ये मोहरे क्या है। अगर मैं समझूं कि ये जो मोहरे हैं सिर्फ लकड़ी के हैं खिलौने, तो जीतना क्या है हारना क्या है, न ये जरूरी न वो अहम है। अगर खुशी है न जीतने की, न हारने का कोई गम है, तो खेल क्या है। मैं सोचता हूं जो खेलना है तो अपने दिल में यकीन कर लूं। ये मोहरे सचमुच के बादशाह हो वजीर, सचमुच के हैं प्यादे, और इनके आगे है दुश्मनों की वो फौज, रखती है जो मुझको तबाह करने के सारे मंसूबे सब इरादे। मगर मैं ऐसा जो मान भी लूं, तो सोचता हूं ये खेल कब है। ये जंग है जिसको जीतना है, ये जंग है जिसमें सब है जायज। कोई ये कहता है जैसे मुझसे, ये जंग भी है ये खेल भी है। ये जंग है पर खिलाड़ियों की, ये खेल है जंग की तरह का। मैं सोचता हूं जो खेल है इसमें इस तरह का उसूल क्यों है कि कोई मोहरा रहे के जाए, मगर जो है बादशाह उस पर कभी कोई आंच भी ना आए। वजीर ही को है बस इजाजत कि जिस तरफ भी वो चाहे जाए। मैं सोचता हूं जो खेल है इसमें इस तरह का उसूल क्यों है। प्यादा जो अपने घर से निकले पलट के वापस न जाने पाए। मैं सोचता हूं अगर यही है उसूल, तो फिर उसूल क्या है। अगर यही है ये खेल, तो फिर ये खेल क्या है। मैं इन सवालों में जाने कब से उलझ रहा हूं। मेरे मुखालिफ ने चाल चल दी है और अब मेरे चाल के इंतजार में है। टू द पीपल हु गॉट इट,
That is wonderful.
yeah, to the
Yes.
people who got it, I hope you appreciate how deep the thoughts are in this. The second part of it is a bit uh, socio-political.
Right.
So I'm still going to translate all of this for you, but we'll get to why we are talking about this as soon as I finish my live translation of the book.
Here we go then.
All right. My opponent has made his move, and I stand now thinking what move to make. I'm looking at these white and black boxes, and I'm seeing these black and white coins, and I'm wondering, what are these? If I think these are just coins and these are just toys made of wood, then what is victory and what is defeat? Neither this is important nor that is valuable. If I'm not happy when I win and not sad when I lose, then what is the meaning of this game? I think if I want to really play this game, I want to imagine in my mind that these toys are really the king and the queen and the pawns. I want to imagine these pawns are real soldiers, and in front of me is standing another army which has every intention of destroying me and finishing me off. But if I think like this, then it is no longer a game. This is war. And in a war, everything is valid. You can do what you want. And this war is a war that has to be won. Someone tells me that this is a war, but it is like a game. This is a game that is played by warriors. I think this game, why does it have such a rule that it does not matter which coin stays or dies, but the king should never be hurt. The queen is the only one who's allowed to go wherever she wishes. Obviously, you have to understand in the context of the Urdu Hindi poetry, we use the word wazir, which is prime minister for the queen,
Right.
that is used in chess.
Mhm.
Anyways, so continuing, I think if the why does this game has a rule like this, that the soldier, the pawn, when it starts from its house, can never return back. It's gone, and its only point is to die. And I wonder, if these are the rules, what is the point of a game like this? And I keep thinking about these in my mind. My opponent has made his move and waiting for me to make mine. All right. So this is my best translation that I could.
Wonderful. I absolutely love that poem myself. And now, for all those of you who are wondering why we're even talking about this, we'd been going back and forth on how to do game-based learning right.
Mhm.
Right. We talked a lot about how we don't want to do just activities in a training program that have no context, or mini games that don't really serve a direct purpose to learning. So and we were really questioning, are games actually effective as a tool for learning, and if so, how to make them effective as a tool for learning. And it was at this point that Abhilash came across this poem and shared it with me. I think there's a video on YouTube as well, Abhilash, of Javed Akhtar
Yeah.
rendering. Yeah, yeah.
And if we get this right, we are going to link it here.
Yeah, there.
Yeah.
What's the name of the book you're reading out from?
The book is called Lava, by the way, and this is Javed Akhtar, of course, and he is a great Urdu poet in and of itself. If that was the only thing that he did, he would still be great. But then he does so many other things that make him a bit of a legend, at least in my eyes.
Uh, Right. And I remember when we first came across this poem and we'd been debating what to do with game-based learning for so long, that this seemed like the universe answering, here's your roadmap, here's what you're supposed to do. And
True.
yeah. So you want to talk a little bit about that? You want to talk a little bit about
All right. I want to divide the literary aspect of this poem into two parts.
right.
Okay. The last part, one of socio-political messaging
Commentary.
about, commentary about society, about how, the king has suddenly become the supreme being. And again, I'm not touching upon any of the politics of any nation here. And he talks about the soldiers being almost dispensable, that they leave their house and are never supposed to come back. And, and the prime minister in this case, or the minister or the queen or whoever, have got full free reign to do whatever they wish, and nobody can question them and all. So there is that aspect of it that is not important in the context of what we are discussing today. What we are discussing today is the first part. After he talks about his confusion about the game and what he's wondering, he comes to that line which says, if I want to play this game, I want to imagine that it is not just a game. I want to imagine that these coins are real, that army against me is real. They are going to destroy me. And when I play like that, what is going to happen is that I will take this game seriously. It is no longer a game, but it is a war, right?
Right.
And once you start imagining those coins to represent, not just represent real people, to have become uh, uh, real people, a real army, then you become much more committed to the game, and thereby you take it much more seriously, and what learnings or any that can come from it are that much more effective. So
No,
that is the aspect that we are going to address today.
No, absolutely. I think that's a good discussion to have as well, because I think it was Hamzinga in one of his early books, or I don't remember the right reference. We'll try and find the right reference.
Hmm.
There's a reference made to a concept called the magic circle when you are talking about games,
Hmm.
right? And the essence of the magic circle, it's a metaphor of sorts, is that
Hmm.
um, when you, as a player, when you enter the playground, you enter a magic circle, a metaphorical magic circle. And when you enter that magic
Hmm.
circle, you, along with the other players, there is a suspension of disbelief, so to speak, that
Right.
whatever the game tells you, the narrative that the game feeds you,
Hmm.
the roles you're expected to play within the context of the game are all real. And games that are really successful are those that are able to draw their players into this magic circle. And when you are in that magic circle, you don't question the logic of the game, you don't question why the rules are the way they are, you don't question the game world. Very often in video games you see that, right? You have these aliens attacking you all the time. You don't step back and wonder, hey, I've never seen aliens in real life, where are these coming from? You don't ask that
Right.
question
Right.
because you're in that game and you're playing it. Um, and uh, that is a sense I had when that was the stroke of insight that I had when I first heard Javed Saab's poem, is that that's what we need to create in a learning environment. That anytime a learner walks into my learning environment, that learning environment has to fully reflect a magic circle, in that as soon as they come in, they forget the outside world until I draw their attention to it and ask them to make connections in what they have learned here, based on what they've played, and then connect it back to the real world. That's my big stroke of insight when I first heard this poem. uh, was it something similar for you?
Oh yeah, 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 totally, totally. And I think you were the one who kind of pioneered the usage of a pandemic, the board game, not the pandemic that is surrounding the world today. The board game that we started using to teach or train people into understanding teamwork and how to do that and all. That
Right.
is to this day our most successful game-based training program, if not for the real pandemic coming and spoiling the show for both us and the learners. So I think once we heard this poem and had a discussion about it, I think we made some significant changes, didn't we, to how we conduct the games.
Oh, absolutely. On that point, before we talk about how we do it,
Hmm.
Pandemic is this board game. For those of you who are not aware, you should play this game. It's this board game that has you playing as a representative of the Center for Disease Control, based out of Atlanta, and you and your fellow players are working very hard against time to
Yeah.
stop the spread of a pandemic across the world. So there's a world map in front of you, and you're traveling from one city to another, one country to another, going ahead and either treating diseases or curing diseases. And really, it's a really cool strategy game where it's a collaborative game, in that you're not playing against an enemy, you're not competing against each other, you're competing against the game itself. And so that was the game in which we decided, you know what, let's take Javed Saab's words and really try and apply this to a learning environment. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And you remember we bought sanitizers for that game before sanitizers were cool.
Yeah.
So we had this thing where, without spoiling the game too much, and you can watch a lot of videos, and I'll try to link that here as well. I'm making these promises. I don't know how I'm going to keep them. Anyway, so what we did was, in that game, the way it works is that there are diseases which are spreading across the world. There are four diseases, and your job as medic or scientist or various other roles that you're in is to stop the spread of the disease. Now, because it's a board game, disease is represented by a cube, a
Right.
disease cube, which is of yellow or red or blue or black color, right? You
Right.
physically lift up the disease cube and put it on the board on which you're playing the game. Now, our idea was if we are going to immerse ourselves into this game, and we really believe at that point that I am the medic and this is the disease, right? Then a medic wouldn't touch the disease with his bare hands,
Right.
or every time he or she touches it, they are going to wash their hands or sanitize their hands. So one of the things we started doing was we started putting these small, you know uh, hand sanitizers next to each board game. So when people start playing it, 5 6 people start playing it, every time they handle it, they wash it. So there's a sort of that smell that fills up. It kind of creates, like you said, a magic bubble. It's
Right.
almost like a magic spear now, in that
Mhm.
they are all engulfed in that feeling, and
Right.
multiple teams are playing. And overall, the way this poem influenced us is to make the games that we were using much more immersive. The game is
Right.
already very immersive to begin with,
Right.
right? And our insights out of it were very valuable for the participants as well. Like I said, today, to this date, it happens to be our most successful program when we were doing it. The thing that added even more layers to it is when we started doing small stuff like this, like adding a hand sanitizer in there, and we had that spray thing that cleans up the entire space before everybody sits there.
Mm.
And we had these cards that represented a person that you look like this. And again, we had big plans of actually carrying in those lab coats and all of that, but that never
Right.
happened because
The real
coronavirus.
pandemic interfered,
Yeah,
or life interfered.
yeah, true,
One of those times when truth was stranger than fiction. But
true, true, true.
for me, one of the biggest takeaways, right? And this really changed the way I looked at game based learning. And I want you to tell me if this was the same for you as well, or it was different. One of the biggest things I started thinking about was, how do I make these programs that, w- apart from not just being immersive, what I really what my biggest takeaway was, uh, to consider the experience of
Hmm.
the environment, right? And until then I'd focused so much on, hey, we're using this game called Pandemic is a great game, so my briefing will be about the game, and then we let them play the game for about 90 minutes, walking around helping them understand it, and then another 90 minutes of debrief, figuring out what they've learned from the game. And that was it. What this particular poem did for me was to consider the entire experience. What can we do from even before they start playing the game, that they take the game seriously? uh, do
Mm.
I really need to start telling them the rules of the game, or can I set up my environment, my room, in such a way that they realize the gravity of the situation as soon as they enter, to
Right.
build that ambience, or the ambiance as it is pronounced? I'm not very sure.
Mm.
Maybe link a pronunciation guide as well there. Okay. So that was my biggest takeaway, is to start looking at any program that we do, with
Mm.
or without games, but to consider the experience of the learner from start to finish, to consider the environment in which the learner is learning from start to finish, and to set up that environment and that ambiance for the learner really, really well.
I just say ambience, but that's okay.
That's cool.
So yeah, no, I totally, agree with how you are approaching it. Primarily because we discussed this together and came up with the idea. The whole idea here is that, see, we as Gentle Bamboo Solutions, the company, right? We hope to be a game-based learning company, that even when we are doing the most serious of training sessions, there's a bit of playfulness, there's a bit of fun, there is some games, there is gamification based ideas, which are not the
Right,
same as game based, but still ideas around fun are there in our training sessions any case.
right.
The idea was like, how do we take that and make it more immersive? And to a large extent, I think Ye Khel Kya Hai by Javed Akhtar has been pretty instrumental in giving us a direction that this is where we are going.
Right.
The whole you know line about what is it? Let me get to that book once again, to
Uh-huh.
to quote it specifically. uh, मैं सोचता हूं जो खेलना है तो अपने दिल में यकीन कर लूं, ये मोहरे सचमुच के बादशाह हो वजीर, सचमुच के हैं प्यादे, और इनके आगे है दुश्मनों की वो फौज जो रखती है मुझको तबाह करने के सारे मंसूबे, सब इरादे.
Right.
The point about, if I decide in my mind that the coins in front of me, sometimes plastic, sometimes wooden, sometimes marble, depending on the kind of board you get, they are meaningless coins if you're
Right.
just playing it without immersion. But the moment you imagine them to be a real army is when you're truly into it. And you have been a chess player, me not so much. And
Right.
I remember you told me once that you went like really deep into becoming better at chess and all of that.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing somewhere in that, chess being the most prominently known board game, there is at some point some ritual before you go into say a master level game or whatever, right?
Right.
Where you want to believe that you are in it to win it or something like that.
No, absolutely, absolutely. That is prevalent, and the you also use it as a way to psych yourself up, right? To take the game seriously. It is not just of academic interest to go ahead and win, but
Mm,
to really psych myself to think beyond my wildest dreams to be able to
mm,
win
mm.
at it. So you look at strategy. You spend hours poring over different tactics, and to be able to do that, you have to in some ways believe that this is life and death. uh,
Right.
that the pawn you are sacrificing has a family and is probably
Oh yeah.
unfortunately never going to go back. So there is an element of that, of course. Coming back to learning and development, again, for me that was the biggest takeaway, is that in any experience you craft for your learner, bring that level of immersion. I love that point you made about hand sanitizers, because this, I remember telling you, this came after, this is not part of the discussion. We were just thinking about how to make the experience immersive, and we thought, hand sanitizers. It's
Mm.
only after we started using it did we realize the smell actually creates a sense of urgency in the participants, in
Yeah.
that they feel that sense of urgency in some way. Until then, I'd
Mhm.
always heard other educators saying engage all the senses in a learning environment. I never really understood it, and then I actually saw it working.
Yeah.
Right. And that again was a big revelation for me, that this is how uh, game based learning should be done.
Yeah. And hand sanitizer literally engages all senses. You touch it, you smell it, you see it, you smell it, and if you are crazy enough, you lick it and you know.
Well, we don't advise that.
Right. We don't advise that. Disclaimer. All right. So here we go. I want to talk about one last thing. In fact, just give you a quote about something that an athlete from UK, was it
Mhm.
Scottish? Was it English? I don't want to make that faux pas. Whatever.
Yeah.
A football player
Uh-huh.
said, called Bill Shankly,
Okay.
once said that some people think football is a matter of life and death.
Hmm.
I assure you, it's much more than that.
Right.
It's much more serious than that. Uh, so the idea that a game can become much more important when you start taking it seriously, it can contribute towards your learning. That immersion brings out truly memorable ideas that you're going to discuss are proven by a lot of research, and in our own little way, based on what we want to be as a company, as well as our literary interests come together to create this little talk. And to a large extent, this poem has influenced enough of our business in the past 6 months that I am happy to have this conversation with you.
Wonderful. I don't want to do this one more thing after you've set it up so nicely to close, but I just remembered one thing as you were
All
sharing
right,
that
then. Go ahead.
quote. Uh, I, that's how kids play, isn't it?
Right.
I remember playing Medicine Poison with my niece.
Mm,
And Medicine Poison is this game where you tag, and you're supposed to go and catch this person, and they basically poison until someone else comes and gives them
mm,
medicine. And
mm,
I remember this kid who was so engrossed in the game. I caught her, and she actually fell on the ground and started writhing as if she had literal
Wow.
poison. And
Yeah.
and so, kids tend to do that. And I think as we grow and we tend to and we want to use games in a learning environment, it is incumbent upon us to also bring that level of immersion into any game. But yeah.
Yes, but don't bring real poison, and do not lick that sanitizer.
Yes.
Do not take medical advice from corporate trainers. All right. Anything else at all? Anything else at all, Rakshit?
No, I think we're good. I think
Right.
we're good.
Oh, no, this was good. This was a lot of fun. And thank you, Javed Saab, for writing that poem and helping us build our company.
Yes. Thank you,
All
Javed
right.
sir.
So that's that. Thank you so much for watching this. Bamboo Shoots is our new series in which we talk about a topic like this, which has a bearing on our company, which has some value for it, but it is not a very academic kind of topic. It's a fun kind of topic, but it still influences the direction that our business moves into. And hopefully, as you listen to this, you are entertained a little and you learn a little, which is the end goal of any game based learning to begin with. Bye bye then.
Bye bye.